Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I am excited and happy to buy stocks right now. That is for sure. What we're talking about this video is a once in a lifetime stock that you need to buy right now. So if you guys do enjoy this video, be sure to smash that like button. Also subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate the recent support. Let's get right into it. So SoFi Technologies, there was no secret. This is the stock we're talking about today, but give me a second to explain this stock before you click away, before you write this off as another SoFi, propaganda video. So down 41% year to date, not the most impressive stock. If we look at the retail stock, SoFi's forward PE ratio is 25.75. Pretty high. Market cap is 19.91 billion, PE ratio is 36. I call this the retail stock because every retail trader says buy SoFi, buy SoFi. Should you actually buy it? SoFi's numbers are great, but I'm not worried about that. What I want to talk about this video is their members, okay? Among other things, but the main thing being their members. Their compounding annual growth rate on their member growth is 38%. Very great. And this is the big deal for SoFi. So we see that they're continuing this trend. We see year-over-year growth. The first quarter of 2026, we have it at 35%. New members over 1 million. This is great. SoFi's total members are 14.7 million. This is a 35% increase year over year, like I just said. So SoFi's total members look great. This is a lot of people added to their platform. This is giving me a lot of confidence as an investor. And if we look at their products in the thousands that are being used by these members, the compounding annual growth rate is right around the same, and their year-over-year growth is even higher, and this is going to continue to outpace member products. So think about that. Member numbers are going to be outpaced by products, but let's go back to the members. So let's say the base case is 25% growth on these members. So they're starting at 13.6 million over 5 years. We're going to start from last year's number, okay? Just to be fair, but we're over 5 years, we're compounding at 25%. We're being kind of conservative right here. We see that their member growth rate right now, if we go back to right here, is 38%. So we're being somewhat conservative saying it's 25%. In just 5 years, they're going to have 41.5 million members. That's not bad. JP Morgan and Chase serves over 84 million consumers and 7 million small businesses. So they have around 91 million customer relationships in total. You're getting close to half the size of Chase. And if you take this on for 10 years, you're bigger than Chase. Think about that. And then we look at Wells Fargo right here as well. We see you're pretty much there with Wells Fargo if you get to 41 million members. And obviously the members are going to grow for these businesses as well over time, but I don't think they're growing at the same rate as SoFi, and SoFi is in a much different space with higher margins, much different of a bank. It's a very different product that they're selling, and what they're doing with their business is so different that 41.5 million members for them compared to 60 million members to Wells Fargo is a big difference. That means a lot more for SoFi than it does for Wells Fargo. So remember, like I said, SoFi is not a normal bank. As of early 2026, SoFi Technologies has approximately 6,100 employees, 1,100 which have they actually added over the past year, which is a 22% increase. But on their operational scale, approximately 2,200 customers are served per employee. This gets 300 for Wells Fargo, so a much lesser number, almost 10%, a little bit more than that. But you see, SoFi is very efficient with the employees that they hire. They don't spend a lot of money that they don't have to. That's why they have no physical locations. You guys know the story with SoFi. But this means a lot because members isn't everything, but the kind of members are. So we don't know exact numbers of what these kind of members, what their demographics exactly are. But we can assume that most of these members are on the younger side, with it being a fully digital bank. Everything in this bank is digital, besides you can pull out cash at various locations. Everything is online. And this is my favorite aspect to the business. This is why I'm an investor. Their margins are so high because of this aspect. A lot of the banks out there, Wells Fargo, Chase, TD, they're closing down a lot of their locations. If you guys look that up, just last year, we're closing almost, over 500 locations across the U.S. bank-wise. And then we look at this year, probably going to be the same thing. So age range for SoFi's, demographic, they're concentrated between 25 and 45, focusing on professionals early in their careers or at the peak earning stage. So this is who they want in their banking system. And they actually want tech-forward customers who prefer app-based banking over physical branches, the younger generation. And if you look at their ads, the people that they use in their ads are people that younger people recognize, and so on and so forth. You can start to connect the dots eventually right there. But the biggest driver of net worth is age. So the younger you get someone in your bank, which they're probably going to stay with your bank, they're probably going to use your bank to get their house, they're probably going to use your bank to get their car. they're probably going to use your bank to take out a personal loan. You see where I'm going with this. But age group, we see that median net worth, the 50th percentile, 425 to 29, is just around $9,000. And then you take this all the way, we say 40 years old, that pretty much 10x's. So that's a lot more money under management for SoFi. That's a lot more assets under management. That's a lot more outstanding loads. That's a lot more fees. That's a lot more going on. 99th percentile, I'd say, a lot of SoFi's customers are probably in the 75 or 75th percentile if I had to guess. But like I said, this is heavily in SoFi's favor due to their targeted advertisements. They want younger people in their banks, and this seems to be working out very well for them. Henry's are their actually main customer, and this is high earner. I don't remember the other ones, but high earner, not, I forgot the rest of the abbreviation, but it's something like that, young but high earner. And members isn't everything. You can have 100 million members at your bank and make $0, but car, home, and personal loans are, like I said, and these are huge segments of SoFi's business. This is how they're driving a ton of revenue to their business, a ton of profit to their business. And this is one of the fastest growing aspects of their business. We see remaining months originations, if we see that right there, that is the number that is exploding. We see from 2024 to 2025, that's how they made so much money. It went from, we see, this is in the millions, but it went from 17 million to 27 million for personal loans, which is a big one. Student loans went from 3.7 million to 5.5 million. And are they making a ton of money with this right now? No, but are they going to start? I think so. And this is the next big thing that's going to take them, in that big direction to be one of those big institutional banks that you can really trust, that's on the same level as Wells Fargo, the Chase, one of those kinds of banks, because those are the banks that people go to, to get their car loan, to get their home loan, to get their personal loan. But SoFi is beginning to actually be the one for that, and that's going to make them so much more money in the long run. So that's why I like that so much. And my prediction for SoFi's next earnings, which I think are going to be really big, obviously, but their past earnings were not the best, and the stock is the price it is right now for a few reasons, because their tech department actually dropped a bunch. They had, Chime leave their tech department, which made their stock drop a bunch, but, multitude of reasons. But their financials look great. I don't even want to talk about that because they're growing so fast. But SoFi beats on earnings is my prediction for next earnings. Not a very bold prediction, but one that I think will happen. And we see the analyst price targets right here. We see the average price target is around $21 with a high target of $30 and a low target of $12 to $16, pretty much where we're at right now. But I think what will happen is SoFi beats on earnings. We see a double beat on EPS, a beat on revenue, and I think the stock runs. And when the stock runs, fully digital, you could have your phone down, maybe you can't use your bank. But when the stock runs, it runs. So, when this stock had that run, when it went from $6 to $12 to $20 to $30, it ran. The stock doesn't stop. So when the stock does go, it goes. And I think we see a S&P inclusion before the year end, because when they run on their next earnings, I think we're going to see them valued at, they're going to have so much hype around them. They're going to have so much money inside of them that they're going to be worth enough to put on the S&P. I think that's honestly what we're going to see this next earnings. So I would not be surprised if that does happen, but, I could be wrong. But I think, we definitely see this by the end of next year. And I'm a long-term investor. So, like I showed for the projections of their member growth, I think that this is a company that, for the long term, this is a pretty no-brainer investment. So my overall thoughts are that this turns from speculative to obvious pretty quickly. This is an obvious investment pretty quickly when you look at how fast the members are growing. If they just continue this at a lower rate for the next 5 years, they're going to be like half the size of Wells Fargo, which, if you compare, obviously SoFi's PE ratio is so much higher than theirs because they're growing so much faster. Obviously, there's more priced in. Their margins are so much better. There's a lot to take into account. But when you look at that, you look at Wells Fargo's market cap, you look at SoFi's market cap, and then you look at both their business models. SoFi should be, at least half of Wells Fargo's market cap, which is so much more. You guys can look into that. But SoFi is a stock that could easily 10x from here. And this is long-term the future of banking, and they have such a great, head start on these big banks that I think it's going to be all online. I think we're going to see no branches. And Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, and Chase, they can't close down. Their main customers are coming in to cash their checks. They're coming in to, obviously, like I just said, cash their checks. They're coming in to talk with a teller. They're coming in to open a bank account. They're coming in to file. They're coming in to open a loan. People at SoFi, they're just calling on the phone. 2,100 customers. What is it? 2,100 customers or 2,200 customers per employee are actually being helped out. So that makes all the difference right there in profit. And that's just, so much less overhead that SoFi has, and they have no locations that they have to lease. It just makes it so much easier. And that's what the customer wants. So, they really got ahead of the curve with that. But, all in all, this is a beat down stock. I'm not telling you guys to buy a tech bank stock that has a PE ratio of 100. This one's beat down. This one's cheap. This one looks like it's offering a very attractive risk to reward ratio right now. The risk is virtually that, you're saying SoFi's growth rate's slow immensely. You're saying that their members fall off a cliff. That's the risk. Do I think that's going to happen? No. You're just saying SoFi goes bankrupt, basically. That's the risk, because every bank poses that risk. That could happen at a bank, especially a smaller one starting off. But I think the reward is much higher than this. I think the risk that they go bankrupt is much lower than the reward that they 10x your money. So SoFi, do I like it? Yes, I love it. I'm investing a ton of money in SoFi, especially in this market right now. If you're making profit from AI, I think turning it over into SoFi. There's a lot of great stocks to do it too, but I think SoFi is one that definitely should be considered. So that's why I want to talk about SoFi this video. That's all I have for today's video. I'm back on the daily upload. So thank you guys so much for the support, but that is all that I had for today. I will be back with another video tomorrow. So thank you guys. Be sure to smash that like button. Also subscribe to the channel. Also be sure to join the Patreon. I actually dropped the price of that. So I do want to have more people in the Discord. I talked to a Discord member. Thank you for that. Shout out to you. But we are going to have, I want to have a bigger community in there for a lower price, because I think we should talk, as investors, and I do want to create that community for you guys. I do upload a weekly analysis video, so that's something that I do there as well. So be sure to check that out. Also check out the Instagram. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you in tomorrow's video. Peace.